May 1st, 1992, Campo Mosquito, Mexico. Bob Anderson.
Yeah, I'm Bob, an alcoholic.
Bye.
Let's open up with a serenity prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Bet. Well, you know what? We've done this before, so maybe we could talk a little bit first about this alcoholism and ego and self for an introduction, anyway, into the disease of alcoholism and where it lies and the function it does for a way of life, as a way of life. And the idea is, in the beginning, for me, coming to AA was the fact that I tried to accomplish something that I didn't have any idea what it was I needed, and I didn't know where it was. And so at the time, I would behave and act and think and do the same things that I've always done, whether it came from past yesterdays or yesteryears, whether I was in trouble or not in trouble, or if I had money or not money, or whether, no matter what was going down, the thing that I didn't recognize was the trouble that I had in my life and where it was at and why it was there. And so when I got here, and meaning Alcoholics Anonymous, I got here, I thought that all you had to do is just go to meetings and try to do steps, try to stay sober, try to maintain a good life, try to make things happen that I couldn't, just never had no success with. So I didn't know where the trouble lied. So the idea behind coming to Alcoholics Alcoholics Anonymous in the first place, I never questioned it. I went there because people stay sober there. I went there because I was told to go there. I went there because they said that that's where I should go, and it was so I did, and I did go to Alcoholics Anonymous. But after I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't drink and I stayed sober, and so the life that I had was a life that I never knew nothing about. I couldn't explain away anything. I accepted life. When things would happen, I would do the very best of whatever the best was I had at the time, and accept that as something that that's the way it is. You know, and then as time progressed, I didn't realize and didn't understand the disease of alcoholism, because the disease of alcoholism was always related to where I had been, what had happened to me, and now that I was not drunk, I didn't know that I need to know a great deal more now about the disease of alcoholism and how it got there and what it's doing to me in the days that I'm in. Because after you stay sober a while, and then you still have to behave or have to think with the same kind of knowledge that you had when you were drinking, and you have to handle situations, and you have to look at people and everything else with the same background or the same knowledge. And this here gets kind of ratty after a while, because I couldn't understand why, if I didn't have any alcohol in me, and I wasn't thinking anything at all to do with drinking. I wasn't wanting to get drunk or anything else like that. But the life that I looked at was the same life I always looked at, because there was trouble there. There was always something happening that I couldn't. It bothered me. It upset me. It made me react to situations, and I'd want to do something about it. And the only thing I knew to do about it would be to punish somebody one way or another, whether it was my wife, whether it was a neighbor, whether guys I worked with, or anything else like that. So there came a time when this business of staying sober and living in a world that I couldn't live in, because it was getting there was too much happening in that world. Too many things was not very. They weren't acceptable. That's all there was to it. I had a brain that it was a violent brain. It was a harmful brain. It was a brain that talked to me viciously about you, whoever you were, to where that same type of thinking was the type of thinking that I had when I was drinking. Because when I was drinking, I was noted, you could never trust me when I was drinking. one minute I'd be your friend, the next minute I'd be your enemy. But here I was sober, and I'm the same person, because these guys I worked with they didn't want nothing to do with me. You know, they wouldn't include me in their conversation or anything else like that. And so I did know that there was something happening around me that wasn't right. It just wasn't right. The disease of alcoholism, my sponsor talked to me a great deal about Alcoholics Anonymous, and when I yelled for help, and about the big book and 12 by 12, not the 12 by 12, but the big book mainly from him. And then, so it was always relating to something coming from trouble or coming from a drunk, or the drunken behavior. And I couldn't understand why the disease of alcoholism is called the disease of alcoholism when you're not drinking and you're not drunk. And so after a period of time of 2.5 years for me, before I even began to think this way, that there was something wrong with me, that the mere fact of staying sober wasn't good enough. In fact, it was getting worse. Now I was really in a bad place, because I couldn't hide, or I couldn't get drunk, and I couldn't lose days because I wanted to lose days. I couldn't stay in bed and pull covers on my head now, or anything else like that. And these thoughts are, I guess they're real common. And the important part about this was the fact that I had to get some kind of information coming into me about a condition that has nothing to do with alcohol. It has nothing to do with bars, or has nothing to do with falling down drunk, doing drunken behaviors of any types or anything else like that. And so this now was going to be something now that I had real difficulty finding. And now I would confront different guys, that I went to stag meetings a lot. So these are guys who were men that were staying sober a lot longer than I had been sober. And I would question them about things, and I would ask them about things about why I would do this or that or anything else like that. And nobody could give me any definite answer as, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you think this way? Why don't you do this? It was always about the 12 steps, or it was about putting steps in my life, or it was about going to more meetings, or it was about turning it over, and things like that. There came a day, and I believe this happened really in 1954, as best I can remember anyway, is when I heard this one gal talking about she found a relationship with a power greater than her, and she said it like that too. And that was that she found a relationship with this here power that was helping her with her life and her problems and everything. And the book was the Sermon on the Mount. So that was when now out of the steps, I know a great deal about steps because I had a sponsor that was a step man. But they were just reading and listening, talking, discussing, and that. They were not applications. They were not how to actually think and act with a way of life where you're using a different method. See, so now this business now about the Sermon on the Mount was that there is in the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox. There is a method in there of how to act or react to situations, how to do things specifically. And I couldn't understand some of them because I didn't have no Bible teaching. So when it said you had to lay your gift on the altar and then go make peace with your brother before you can actually have the life that they're discussing or talking about. And I didn't know that the purpose behind that. See, and so I started reading, and I started trying to do things differently. At the same time, I wanted to know something more about this disease of alcoholism. And I wanted to know how I got it, and where I got it, and why I got it, and so forth. And then, so you've got to remember now, this is a 2.5-year period of going from coming out of a hospital, alcoholic hospital, into AA, and then going for 2.5 years of meetings and trying and having things happen around you, and not being able to do anything at all about your life. Just strictly can't do it. And now came the time when the disease of alcoholism, I had to find out that while I was growing up and living, now I'm not saying from when I was a little kid, but while I was out in the world of living, And the world of living for me started around when I was about 15 years old. In this age of 15, why, I had to work steady. I had to do many, many things. And I found the bottle then too, and I found drinking then. And I certainly didn't go into alcoholism in overnight or anything like that. But I found out that the alcohol, that I liked it. I liked what it did to me. I liked what it did to my mind. I liked the way I thought, and so I started using alcohol. And at the same time in using alcohol, why, my life that I'm living, I had to learn how to defend myself, and I had to learn how to think fast, and I had to learn how to protect myself, and how to take advantage of situations and cut corners, and I had to learn how to rob, steal, and cheat in every form. Because as I was living that life, I was traveling around with a bunch of people, where this kind of a display of life, and that you had to match it, you had to be with it, or else you couldn't. And so this is where now the fact was that I didn't know my mind now was growing into a way of life where I become the authority, where I am the boss, I'm the main man. I go to me and I figure things out. I figure my life out. I figure out how to, ahead of time, how to get it favors, how to use you, and how to take, and how to get things that I believe is necessary for my life and things that I want to, see. And so this here's method of I'm using for a living now is starting to take a hold of me, and I'm starting to go with it. At the same time, I'm starting to drink heavier. I'm starting to get to places where I'm causing harm. I'm really causing harm. I'm causing damage in my life to people and myself. And until someone took time out to point to me that as I was growing up, a lot of people meant well. They tried to, like bosses, superintendents, and things like that, they would try to tell me and ask me, you know, what's the matter with you? You know, why do you do the things you do? Why do you come in drunk? And, why do you turn on people? Why do you know, it just goes on and on. Just talking about me, the way I behaved, and yet though, at that time, why, I didn't think there was nothing wrong with me. I thought that this life I had and everything I was doing was perfectly fine, you know, because hell, I'm operating, I'm working and everything else like that. Well, I never looked to the word alcoholism as a disease of the mind, not the body, because I didn't find that out until I got into the steps, and then I found out in Alcoholics Anonymous that my trouble lies in my mind, not my body. So the alcoholism was always a word associated to an alcoholic. He's an alcoholic because he's got alcoholism. See, but that's as far as it ever went, and that's as far as I knew it. Until the time came that I had to find this out for myself, why I act the way I act. Because if I'm not drunk, and I'm not out there in the world that I lived in before with a drunken behavior of different things that were almost killing me sometimes, and I'm not doing that type of living, how come I still am the same person that I was when they locked me down and strapped me down in the hospital? See, because I was that same person. And then it got to be dawning on me that if I think a certain way, that's where I go to figure out my life. I think a certain way. So if self is in the picture, meaning that the background or the main man or the thing that's going on in my brain is I'm protecting me. I'm going to have to make sure that everything is right for me, and I'm going to get everything that I need. And if I can't get it one way, I'm going to get it another way, and I have to be front and first. I didn't know that this is going to cause me great harm. This is going to cause me that other people won't accept that behavior, and they won't accept that type of living and that type of acting that I was producing, whether regardless of who I was. And so even in bars, that didn't go over very good sometimes, unless you could overpower the other person one way or another, either knock him on his ass or whatever you did. And so I didn't understand that I was accepting life, and I was doing life according only to what I wanted and what I believed in, and I couldn't do anything about that. The reason I couldn't do anything about it because I couldn't see that. And I didn't understand that the disease of alcoholism is the power in my mind that I use for my life. Now, I mean by power, that thing controls me. That disease is where the power lies. The power means the power to think, act, and be. See, now this is another thing now I didn't understand either and had no knowledge of, is the power, the word of power. The power, this power now that I use for my life, it was where all the reasoning, all the conscience lied, where all of the ego factors that I knew nothing of, where it resides in my mind, see? And I didn't couple that up to being self, me, because I was always looking outwardly, I was always looking to something that was wrong, something that was attacking me, something that was bothering me, something that was hurting me. And so then right away I would use my head to figure out how to get away from that or fix that or whatever it was. And it didn't make no difference what it was, whether it was my job, whether I was being threatened to be fired again, whether it was my wife wanting that she's going to leave me, or it didn't make no difference what it was. I still was I was the main man. I was still controlling and using my brains and all the defects now that I had acquired to survive up to that point. This here was a condition of the mind now. And that's why I don't believe, I have the disease of alcoholism, which is a physical allergy with a mental obsession. Now the mental obsession is what I'm talking about, is where it was a building thing, it was a progressing thing, it was a thing that is, I lived in the drunken stage of living. Not being drunk, but the drunken stage of living. I had to protect myself, my job, and my position, and everything else like that. Even though I wasn't drunk, I still had to think smart enough, fast enough to save my job, because I was drunk the day before, but I'm not drunk now. And I knew how to think ahead of time and get ready for the boss to give him some kind of an excuse, so I would survive, and he wouldn't fire me. And I'd get in good graces, and I'm not drunk now, see, I'm sober. But I'm thinking now, sober, to save me. Whether I was drunk or sober, I was still using the same power as self. And the obsession that I had was not an addiction. It wasn't a type of thing that I had to shoot me in veins or swallow pills, and then I would get knocked up high and I would go wild woolly or anything else like that. I got wild woolly when I was sober. I wouldn't even have a drink in me, and I was ready for Freddie all the time. And I was smart enough and fast enough with my brains that I could protect me no matter whatever attacked me. But I didn't know that that was coming from the disease of alcoholism, and that's a fixed, permanent thing in my brain that I talk to myself, and I figure out how to live ahead of time. I figure out how to say things the right way so I can go farther in my life still doing the same thing that I'm doing, regardless of what it is now. I would always learn. I learned how to lie in the beginning, and I was an expert. I was a pathological liar. I would rather tell a lie than tell anything, see, because I could benefit by this. I could really get in there, and I could get sympathy from you. I could get money from you. I could get favor from you. I could do many, many things. I could make my life look like shit in your eyes so that you would favor me, and then I'd be okay again. See? And I don't know, now I don't know this though, and I didn't find this out until later on when I was sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, trying to find a world I could live in while I was sober now, and I had nothing to do with drinking. But I'm talking about now, I'm talking about coming from a way of life, a disease of alcoholism. Now this disease of alcoholism, for me, it was in all of my affairs when I was drunk, and then here I am sober in AA, and the same disease now is still my problem. When I was not drunk falling down, that problem I had was the same problem I was having after 2.5 years without the alcohol. And I'm thinking, now that can't be. How can that be? That isn't right. That isn't right. And yet, though, the moment that somebody would open the door for me or give me something to look at, meaning me, because I can't look at me by myself, and this would be a sponsor, this would be the message that we were talking about today, of being able to carry this message. See? So, the moment it was presented to me in the manner it should be, so that I could see something there, that I could admit to self inwardly, that I do think this way, I do act this way, I do all of these things that they're talking about now, and the things they're talking about now is only the disease of alcoholism, and it's nothing to do with length of sobriety or time or no factors there at all, other than the fact that it's already there in the mind. In the mind, not the body. Now, in the beginning I was told, and even by my sponsor, and I was told this, I was told that all I had to do is stay sober, work the steps, and just, you're going to make it. You're going to be all right. Now, I heard this from many, many alcoholics. See? Now, I know for a fact that this here is wrong. I know this is no information for me to say. I don't know about you, but for me. Because I don't have that kind of an authority to tell an alcoholic that comes here, an Alcoholics Anonymous, or somebody that's here already. And it could be an older bugger, and it could be a young bugger. It don't make no difference, see, you know. This is something real serious, see, is because what you're doing, you're setting that person up just like I was set up. And some alcoholics, I know some alcoholics can stay for a long period of time just on faith or hope of getting better. But I couldn't do that because I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse. And not only was I getting worse, I knew I was getting worse. And this was really making it wrong. So now, this here business now, we're talking about, not talking about steps at all, but talking about something now to learn something about who I am. Not who I was or I'm going to be or anything else like that, but who I really am. And why in the hell would I come to Alcoholics Anonymous? If the hospital got me sober, which they did, and then they put me out on the street, put me in this in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, why can't I function? Why can't I fit in this world now? I'm not drunk. I'm not. My mind is not captured with. I don't have an addiction. I have an obsession. I know that because I can think the thoughts, and I also can fantasize. I can shoot forward and backwards. I can do many, many things, but I don't have to. I don't have to have alcohol. I don't need the alcohol to make me what I used to be like. But I'm still like that now. I don't need the alcohol to do that. How come then? If the addiction does the thing to me after I take the substance, but the other does it before I take the substance, what the hell's the matter with me? Just what the hell's wrong with me? So I'm getting so damn, I know there's an answer, I know there's a solution, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it means to do anything about this because self is protecting self all the time, which I still know how to do. And self will never reveal self to self. I can't look in the mirror and say, Anderson, look what you did. Now, you better not do this no more. And then I can walk away and I won't do it, see, because that would be something, you know, that lack of power. I don't have that kind of power to do things like that. But I know, though, that there is something that has to be done, but I don't know what it is to do because I can turn right around after many, many years now of being in the program of recovery, or I can start out in the beginning there. I mean well, and I sincerely mean that, but I can't do well. I can start out in the beginning, a long time ago, and I can also do this here any time too, is that I know what to do, but I won't do it. The things I should do, I don't do. I know this. And this is very obvious to me today. See? It's something like what Ali's told me the other day, that he meant to thank somebody. And he went to bed, went upstairs, and then after he got upstairs, it kept chewing on him, and he went back down to thank the person was gone. Now he's really upset. Because he recognizes something, see? He should have done, but he didn't do it. This now is the disease of what he did. He described to me exactly what brought me here, and exactly what I need to know today is the identity of the disease of alcoholism when it functions, whether I'm just learning it or whether I'm living it today after many years. Doesn't make no difference, see? Because my problem is the disease of alcoholism. That is what's wrong with me, see? Now, it is not, and I'm not cured because it says that on page 85, then I found that to be true through years of living, so that the daily reprieve, I had it, I knew I had it. When I didn't have it, I also knew I didn't have it. I knew why, too. And so this here now was something I needed to know, the disease of alcoholism, how it functions. How I will today, now I'm not talking about steps now, see, and I'm talking about something that's in my head permanently. It's a disease of alcoholism. It's not a wasn't in any sense of the word. There's nothing I can do to get that out or whatever the hell is needed so that it's gone forever. It's not gone forever. And so this now becomes important to me because you see my life is becoming important to me. Also is the fact that the treatment that's needed today is only because it is today. It must remain like that. So then how can self survive, meaning me, how can self survive by a one-day application or a one-step application or a one-affair application and leave the rest of my life alone? In other words, I could say I could be happy, joyous, and free all but one place in my life. Maybe in my home, maybe at my work, maybe driving that car. And then when I get in that car or in that home or with that other person or anything like that, then I become somebody that I used to be because the disease of alcoholism, the self now again is the power. Self is going to self or to tell self or to help self or do for self. And then now, here I am now sober, and I could have many years or no years, but I'm leaving one part of my life untreated, one section, one specific place, and the disease of alcoholism now, I have to be the authority there, but the moment I go there as the authority, then my whole life becomes the authority for myself. And now I'll start acting and protecting self again. I'll start becoming who I really am about self. How I cannot see you as I should treat you, or think about you, or be with you, or do for you, or anything like that. Self won't let me do that, because self becomes too important to self, meaning me now, where I will think first ahead of anything, and I'm going to do my thing because I want to be first protected, be in a safe place, do the thing, and then I can maybe let you in the picture. And this is the truth now, see? And all I'm talking about now is talking about the disease of alcoholism. How I can go along in the day I'm in today, and I can do a performance, and I can leave you out of it, whoever you are, and yet you shouldn't be left out. I should have included you. And when I don't do that, see, I become aware of it. Something wakes me up. Something happens to me. Something tells me, Anderson, you better go back and redo that. Anderson, you just did something you shouldn't do. Or Anderson, why didn't you say something differently? Why didn't you add something to whatever was going on so that somebody else would benefit instead of you? Why can't you think like that, Anderson? See, now this is in steps. This might sound strange to you. I don't know if it does or not, see, but it's not strange to me because it goes on every day in my life like this. I have to know these things because you see, what I have to know is that there's something wrong with me. It's a permanent condition. It happened a lot of years ago, and it's an ongoing living life, and it'll never change. And I said before, the only time I believe it ever could change, I guess I'd have to get a head transplant. Get a new mind. And that's the truth. That is the truth. And so to be aware of something today, not because of a lot of years, years don't have a damn thing to do with this now, but to have a life presented to me today so that I can see and be who I should be, not who I am, meaning self. This is now the disease of alcoholism, the ego factor of how I live. The ego factor, meaning the importance of self, or how self wants to be considered above everybody else, or how self wants to be on top all the time, or how self wants to be recognized all the time, or how self wants to be complimented or patted on the back, or how self is always talking to self. And so the ongoing energy or the life that I'm doing is all wrapped up with me. I'm first, because I go to first. I go to me only, and I stay with me. And I look to me for all the things. Now, you know what I'm talking about right now is something that I had to find out, because you see, I started getting in steps. I was introduced into steps without any identity, without any knowledge of what the hell's the matter with me. And when I started in steps doing this here like this, I started putting my 2 bits in every so often. Every so often I'd get a bright idea and I'd think, this is the way, this is what they mean. I can do this, I'll do it this way. And first thing you know, I'm back in the same rat race I've always been in, because I'm going to self with disregarding the power of self, not even recognizing the self again, not even recognize how I got here, what brought me here. See, I thought the booze brought me here. But I didn't know it was the way I lived that brought me here. The way I thought about the concept of life, the way I treated my life, and the way I treated people in my life. I found out that these were the things that kept me drunk. These were the things I had to drink over. These were the things I had to run and hide from. These were the things that I had to get a mind so occupied with alcohol that I lost all of them things. Them things they just got shoved out of my brain, and I just lived in the moment, because I always drank for the moment I was in. I never drank for the future. I never drank because of yesterday's troubles. I drank because of the day I was in. And here I am now trying to live in the day I'm in, without the alcohol, and I don't even know how to do that. So, if this means anything at all to you, I don't know. But it meant a hell of a lot to me, because how could I, if I genuinely, sincerely want what I should have today, according to the will of God in the life that I should have, how come I can't perform like that today, to have that today? Yet it's there to have, and yet I can't have it. How come? And so I keep looking to self. I keep wanting to keep. Maybe I could go to another meeting. Maybe I could hear. I'm going to really ask them this time. Be specific. Help me. Because the moment I get information that I think is going to solve my problem, I get back into self again. I get on safe ground. I get running good. I really do. I think, man, I've got it made now. I wish I'd have known that yesterday. I'd have been all right now. See, now I know it. I'm going to be all right. I'm not even in steps, and I'm talking to myself, and I'm okay in my life, and I found the answer already, and I don't even know the method yet. And so I'm stumbling all the time in AA. I'm waiting. I'm gonna hang around AA. I'm gonna keep going to more meetings. I'm gonna get some time in. When I get enough time in, I'm gonna be like that next guy. I'm gonna be able to do these things too someday. You know, that someday never did come until the day came that I had to have, and I had to do, and I had to be the man I should be according to the 12 steps of recovery. Now you guys know, you've heard me before, and you know, there were some babies I had that took their own lives, drunk and sober. And a couple gals too. Drunk and sober both. But the only reason they did is because they couldn't go another day with what they had. They were so full of themselves and the disease of alcoholism that they couldn't last another day. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't go through another day of misery, another day of a brain self-talking and trying to figure out life, and life couldn't be figured out that way, and they're still trying to do it. And the solution was never there. And so this now was something that I had to see, look inwardly, to see that I've got something wrong with me, not you. I had to quit looking at you, whoever you were. I had to quit going outside of self, looking inside all the time. I had to watch what I said. I had to watch what I did, because I had to make sure I wasn't doing damage to somebody. Not me, but somebody else. This was an introduction now, again, to the disease of alcoholism that's in me. Not in you, in me. This is where that I, me, instead of the we and the ours and themselves and all that crap. See? This is when some of that stuff started to come to the surface, so that I could quit looking at you, whoever you were, and thinking that you ain't right. I can't, I honest to God can't afford today, because of the disease of alcoholism now, I can't afford to look at you very long with any criticism, any judgment, or any hardship, or any kind of brain that's ripping you apart or judging you wrong. Now, I'm not saying that thought doesn't come, because it does come. But I can't entertain that thought or give that thought any space in my brain. It can't occupy none of my brain for very long at all. This is why I have to live only for today and today's life. I don't use yesterday for memory for any reason. I do not do that. I had to learn how to do this now. But that's not because of the steps now. This is because of the disease of alcoholism and the power that's there because of the disease of alcoholism, which has got ego with it, which is a twofold deal. They're like Siamese twins. The ego factor will bring in the cockeyed thinking, the alcoholism thinking. The alcoholism thinking will bring in ego. And I just, man, I hadn't been sober years, and I got to find this out. It took some years to find this out, because nobody would take time out of their lives to specifically tell me what the hell's the matter with me. See, what's wrong with me? Why do I have to slight you? Why do I have to maybe go out to the restaurant and go get something to eat by myself? The hell with you? See, now, what I'm saying is a condition of the mind that I use that hurts me, and it might hurt you too, but it hurts me. I'm primary, see, because I've got to be primary, because if I don't have this life I'm talking about, then I go to hell. See, I'll have to die, and I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to die. I don't want to die because of the disease of alcoholism isn't being treated, and that's what happens. But you see what this does, this, as an alcoholic, I have to look farther than I can look. I have to go farther than I can go. I have to believe and trust and call upon something other than me before I know steps even. Because in the process now, how can I go into steps for what purpose if I don't know nothing about me and what's wrong with me and about the disease of alcoholism and where it is? How can I get into steps and start applying steps for the purpose that they're there for if I don't know the purpose? If I don't read steps and if I don't understand what I read, how can I do what it's supposed to do? I can't. It's impossible. Now it's becoming very important to me to get farther in my life with success with my alcoholism by opening up, exposing to you, whoever you are, to tell you, man, I don't know how to act. I don't know how to think. But you see, I got an ego factor that says, don't do that, especially for a man to tell another man that, don't do that. And so I suffer. I hide. I stay private. I stay inwardly. See? And then as I stay inwardly, the disease of alcoholism is the life I'm living. And I'm not drunk. I am not drunk. I'm not drinking. I'm years from drinking. But I'm not years away from self. I'm not years away from alcoholism. It's very, very evident, see? Because I blow my mind. I get so frustrated, so mad, I can kill you. And I got a sane mind. I mean, it's not full of booze, see? And I look at people, and you can't do anything right. It's not because you're upset, it's because I'm upset. It's not because you're doing something wrong, I think you're doing something wrong. And I think, God damn, man, this is all about me. This ain't about you at all. Now, you know, in the steps, to have the steps as a way of life without this knowledge about the disease of alcoholism, where it's at, how it got there, and how it functions. How it functions. Now, at least, just like right today, I could watch any one of you today. I could watch any one of you do something and find fault with me. I could. I absolutely could do this. And not only that, I could get upset about it. And not only that, I could talk to myself in there to where I can't even be of help to any one of you. Because I'm all screwed up. I got my brain in high gear, and the son of a bitch is doing to me now what it's always done to me. It becomes the authority. It becomes the power. It becomes the ego factor. It becomes the disease of alcoholism, which grows, and it captures me, and it hurts me, and it hurts the world I live in. See? And I don't think this now, and I don't think there has anything to do with anything. And so, you know, the best thing I believe, this is only what I believe, see, is that you and I, as alcoholics, with alcoholism, you and I could sit down and talk from now to doomsday, which we have done. And this could mean you, it could not you, but it could mean Ollie, it could mean Jimmy, it could mean some of Perry, some of, and certainly TJ over here. And we could sit for hours, and we could discuss these steps, and we could just we could be so damn smart about steps. And we don't have to get smart about steps. We don't need to get intelligent about steps. What we need as alcoholics with alcoholism is that we need to recognize what the hell the disease of alcoholism is, and where it's at, and why it's there, and what's needed. The moment, though, you see, the moment that you find this out, or the moment that you can see this, or at least be aware of it, or at least be open-minded about it, see, then, and only then, when you get in the steps, will the purpose of the steps be applied for that reason to treat that condition, which is self, alcoholism, and ego. Because I was always going to meetings looking outwardly, and I was always going to meetings after I had studied steps, read steps, and I really studied them, you know. But I couldn't do them. I couldn't perform, see. I just couldn't use or benefit from all of the readings and all of the listenings and all the discussions, see. I couldn't do it. And so now, the idea right now, what I'm talking about, this became something that became, it was necessary, needed. It was something that all of a sudden I was lit up like a firecracker, you know, man. I was off with a bang. Now I want it all. See? I don't want a little bit. I want it all. I want to go for broke. See? Because now I know that I can have success, that I'm sober, and not only am I sober, I have something now going for me that I didn't have before. Because before I was going to meetings. Sometimes I'd feel good at meetings, sometimes I'd feel bad. Sometimes I'd go to meetings and come away worse than I did when I got there. So I would spend many hours at meetings, and I would still go back into the bottom of the barrel. Why should I go in the bottom of the barrel? So this here now became something up here in my brain that was needed for my life, for me. And so I'm feeling better about myself. I'm looking better at life, even though it hasn't changed any as far as what I thought it needed to be changed. And so this here now was about the disease of alcoholism, who I am, self, and also the ego factors. And that's why in 1957, when I read Tebow, where Tebow, man, I'll tell you, he saved my life. He really did. That was in 1957. And I had been sober 5 years, going for 5 years, see? And so the part there that this here was something here that Tebow puts out. And here's what he said. The fate of the surrender reaction is in itself an interesting study. With some, the surrender experience is the start of a genuine growth and maturation. With others, the surrender phase is the only one ever reached, so that they never lose the need to attend meetings and to follow the program assiduously, apparently relying on the constant reminders in their daily existence to supply the necessary impetus to the surrender feeling. And at least insofar as alcohol is concerned, for a few there seems to occur a phenomenon of what might be called selective surrender. After the effects of the initial surrender experience have worn away, the individual returns to pretty much the same person he was before, except for the fact that he doesn't drink and has no battle on that line. His surrender is not to life as a person, but to alcohol as an alcoholic. Now see, that's what I was doing, and that saved my life. Just things like this is because I thought that by going to a lot of meetings and listening like I was listening, that eventually I'm going to get where I should be, and eventually all things are going to be well, and eventually this, and eventually that, and so on like that. But see, I knew I was going downhill because my brain was going downhill. Now that doesn't mean I didn't have dollars in my pocket, because I did. That doesn't mean I was broke, because I wasn't. I had a job, I had a new house, I had two new cars, and things like that. So the steps, I bet you I couldn't tell you right now from a reading of steps any more than you know already. See, I bet so. But I bet you I can tell you something about alcoholism thinking that you might use that you won't look at or identify or accept even. I bet you that's true. I bet it is true. I'll bet it's true for you like it is for me, because it is for me. I'll bet you just because I've been sober a lot of years, That doesn't give me an edge on my life today, no matter what I do today. One way or another, it doesn't give me an edge so that I can get away with more or less, or do something one way and not another way. I bet you 2 to 1. I'll bet you that you would be influenced today with alcoholism not being treated in your life the same way I would be if it wasn't treated in my life, so that I can't look at self either. And I'll bet you if the shoe fits, I bet you should wear it if you're an alcoholic with alcoholism. Because if you're gonna live in this world out there that I live in as an alcoholic with alcoholism, I sure in hell can't afford to lose any more days. I sure in hell can't afford to lose any more years even. And so this year, what I'm talking about now is very, very important. And this isn't about steps. This is strictly about the disease of alcoholism in me that controls me. It's the person, it's the main man. I used to think the main man meaning was only just me by myself, but it's not me by myself. The disease of alcoholism now, I need to know more about it. If I'm going to live today as an alcoholic, I have to know more today than I did yesterday for my life. Now, whether you believe this or not, it's true. Just because whatever has happened up till this minute doesn't excuse or doesn't stop or doesn't favor me so that I don't have to treat alcoholism now, today, this day. This is real hard to understand. It's hard for self to understand. That this way of life, this thinking, this living, comes from a method that's produced in 12 steps, so that the method that's there now is the same method that treats alcoholism all day long, all the time, in any of my affairs. Doesn't make no difference. So the important part about this is be able to be an alcoholic with alcoholism, to know who you are, to know what's wrong with you, to know where you're going, and how you're going to get there. You must, if you're an alcoholic like me, you must know this. If you don't know this, then you either have to assume or go on the assumption that because of all of your time in AA or all of your meetings, that you're going to be all right, that everything's going to be all right. Just don't make waves. Just be all right. You'll be okay. You know, and you know, like I know, that never stays that way. You know damn well that somebody's going to put something on you, or somebody's going to expect something out of you, or somebody's going to say something to you that's going to disturb you. It's going to upset you. And then what do you do? See? And I know that each and every one of us as alcoholics with alcoholism are thin-skinned. Each one. They can't take criticism. They can't take anything at all about their behavior, about their actions, without retaliating or wanting to retaliate. I know that. And yet, though, this is the thing that's going to save your life. This is the thing that's going to let you and me, as alcoholics, have more of the life that God says that we can have. This is the part now where the open-mindedness is needed. What's truly needed is an open mind. An open mind means only that. A mind without a preconceived ideas about self. With a mind that doesn't talk to self as the authority, so that there can be something else presented to you, in me, as alcoholics with alcoholism, so that when we do go into steps, and we do start steps, that we have something now that's going to help us get farther into our life in a performance that we never knew how to give before, and we didn't know where to give it or how to give it. The disease of alcoholism and self and ego, man, this is something that if you're in doubts right now, if you got a question right now, if you think that you don't quite clearly clearly know what that means, or have no awareness that's a condition that has to be explained or looked at more, then you should do it now. You should do it. You're in a place right now. You're in a position, a place, an opportunity, prime time, to have something presented that might save your life, might do you some good. Give it a shot, see if it works, see if it helps. Be able to learn to live with with a little exposure, more exposure about self. Man, I had to swallow a lot of truths about me that I didn't want to swallow. I had to go to some guys and tell them right from my heart that I just didn't know. I was sorry as hell that I said and treated them the way I did, but I had to have what I need now. Would you help me? And this here saved my life. This set me free from self. It allowed me to go where I should go and do and say the things I should say, so that my alcoholism was being treated. Because listen, let me tell you, all that reading and all that meetings does not treat alcoholism. Does not treat alcoholism. No way. No way. The change of character that's needed is exactly what's going on right now. To be able to be open-minded, to be able to say, man, I'm not so damn smart after all. You know, I don't need to figure life out. All I need to do now is just see me for who I really am. Look inside of me and see my motives and my ideas of why I tick the way I do, why I look at you the way I do, why I say what I do. I think myself personally that Alcoholics Anonymous, the message is exactly what I've been talking about right now. I believe that if you honestly, sincerely would ask for the knowledge of His will, this is why what Ted was talking about today, so maybe we could talk on this weekend about step 11. He said he'd like to know more, talk more, because it's something that's not, doesn't seem to be talked about or discussed even. And that's exactly what I'm talking about now. See? And this here always does the same thing. It always goes to a power greater than self. Always. So if this here, if this would be of any benefit, this would be of any consequence as far as changing our concepts or it's you know, the thing about what I'm talking about is that, like on a Monday night, some of you guys know, it's so hard to break an alcoholic's shell. It was hard to break mine. I was a powerful guy when I was younger, and I was a big guy, a stronger guy, and this here made me worse because I was so used to being able to accept things. Whether I got knocked down or somebody else got knocked down, it didn't make no difference. And I was fighting life, and life all the time was in a rat race. I'd win, I'd lose, see? But it wasn't a question of that, it was a question that I had to get in there and make it win or lose, see? And so this here now, what was happening to me, and that's in Tebow too, see, that inner battle, that inner self, that fight, that constant drive all the time was lessening, see? But the reason it was lessening is the same thing as why I thought I was an agnostic, see, but I didn't know what an agnostic was, is that I was ignorant and uninformed. I was trying to do things that I didn't know how to do. I was trying to be somebody that I couldn't be, and I was trying to make things happen that I didn't have the power to make happen in the first place. And so what does that leave you with? That leaves you in restless, irritable, discontent, leaves you with problems, real problems, struggles. I was losing all the time. The reason I was losing because I thought I was losing. See, I felt that I was cheated. I felt that you had something more than I had all the time, and I don't care who you were. I could have more material things, and you still had more than I had. See, but it was always up in my head, because that's where I went with the disease of alcoholism for all of the answers that I thought were needed in my life for my life. See? But that's only because of my mind. That was only because of what the disease is, or what it does to the alcoholic with alcoholism. Because it is, you know, like I know, it isn't a question of having money or not having money, or having a car or not having a car. You know it isn't that. Because no matter what I got, I was restless, irritable, discontent. No matter if I won or lost, it made no difference. If I had a broad, didn't have a broad. Had a job, didn't have a job. So see, I never looked at what was wrong with me. I was always looking outside of me. And you know, I was talking telling you today about the age, you know, how fortunate you really are. See? in your age, you know, that you can come here like some of these guys now, these young guys come in here now, and they're in their early 20s, and they got an opportunity in their 20s to stop hurting people, stop hurting themselves, to gain. Like Ali, going to college, he's going to be a chiropractor. He's got a wife and a kid. He's got responsibility. He answers to that responsibility. See?
I have a question. How, you know, I buy what you're saying. My problem is, okay, how do you not go to self when you have to make a decision about your life? You know, you talked the other night about, there's certain things you have to do during the day that you have to make decisions. You know, you just, you know, little menial things. You got to shave, you got to wash yourself, you got to take care of yourself. You know, you make those decisions when you're going to do them and that you have to do them. How do you take the important stuff, your life direction? You know, important stuff, big decisions in your life. How do you know you're not going to your alcoholic sickness, the self that's broke, that's sick, that's going to do the wrong thing no matter how good your intentions are? How do you know?
Okay, then the purpose of this here right now, what I'm doing here right now and talking about right now, is so that I can identify first why I'm here. Why I'm here meeting Alcoholics Anonymous. Why I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. See? Because I went to Alcoholics Anonymous I went in from a hospital, see, to Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't have to come from a hospital to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, but I did. And then after I got here, I thought that my problem was that I was drunk all the time. I was drinking. I spent my money on drinking. I lived in bars and so forth, see. And so I thought that this is the problem, see. And so so now that I'm here, I started working at my life the same way I worked at it when I was drunk. I started thinking the same way. I started talking the same way. I started looking at people the same way. Everything was the same. Nothing changed. I didn't have any drunken behavior. Now, what I'm saying right now, I already said this. I have said this. But you see, the disease of alcoholism won't let self hear things. This won't. The disease of alcoholism is a power. The disease of alcoholism has got some factors in it. And these factors came from a period of time when I was drinking, so that I had to okay things, that I had to only go through me, so that I had to make sure first that the answer was the answer I wanted to hear for me, and then I would hear it, see? Other than that, I wouldn't hear it. Now we're coming into something else. Now we're going to come into something that's needed for an alcoholic with alcoholism, so he can do different, so he can have different, and be different. This is now the introduction now into steps. We haven't been introduced to steps yet. I just got through talking about the disease of alcoholism, about where it's at, and also about self, and I'm talking about ego. Now with this kind of information that I've just talked about, now we can go into steps to treat the condition, to do differently. This is what the 12 steps are for now. So there isn't now, it isn't a question of finding the right answer for a right purpose to fix a right condition or a right one problem. This isn't what it's about. This is about how to find a method of living where my alcoholism will be treated. And this is the introduction now to a new method of living that I will be able to do, because in this here method there's going to be a power introduced, and this power is greater than self. This power now is in step 2, the introduction of it. Okay, so that means now that we're going to have to learn as alcoholics with alcoholism about a method of living which is 12 steps. And it's 12 steps, not 1 step or not 2 steps, and then you're all right. Not 1 step or 2 steps in your alcoholism is a wasn't. None of them things at all. So now with the question that you asked just a minute ago, see, means now that we'll have to go into steps now and find this method so that when I do make a decision, it'll be the right decision, that when I do whatever I do, in whatever situation I'm in, it's going to be the right thing to do. This now, again, is what the steps were put into the form of a method of living, a way of life. This means now that as alcoholics, we're going to have to change. If you're an alcoholic with alcoholism, you're going to have to change, meaning up here, meaning your brain. You can't use it for the same purpose you used to use it for. You can't decide now which is right and which is wrong. There's only one way, the right way. There's only one way now, through a power greater than you. Not you now. A power greater than you. It must be outside of you. It must be away from you. This is now the introduction of why Alcoholics Anonymous works. This is why in 1935, when Bill met Dr. Bob, between 35 and 39, they put together 12 steps for any alcoholic with alcoholism to treat their life, to change, to do differently, to have differently, and so forth. This now is like, right now, you do not have to, this I know. The steps will produce a way of life where you don't have to decide if I should do this or not do this, if this is right and this is wrong. You don't have to. The reason you don't have to is because it's already established. It's a principle, it's a truth. It works only one way, it doesn't work two ways. It's consistent. It'll do again today what it did yesterday. This is a hit deal every time you use it. This isn't a missed deal. This isn't a now and then deal. This isn't a deal for you and not him. This is the way I live. And so now we're coming into something, I look at alcoholics. I listen carefully to what you say. I have to. Not for you, but for me. I have to see and know and have in my life today the power that will allow me to be who I should be today, so that regardless of what is right or wrong, it'll be what it should be. This is something you gotta learn. You have to have. You need it. If you're an alcoholic, where else would you go? Where could you and I go as alcoholics? Where could you go today, any one of us go today, for a solution to a problem that hasn't even happened yet? Or maybe happened. Where would you go? And yet I'll guarantee you that if you will listen carefully and follow directions, meaning the 12 steps, that I don't give a shit where you go or what happens, you're going to be all right. Your Heavenly Father is still going to take care of you. It's going to be all right. So that takes the monkey off your back and my back, and so you don't have to become restless, irritable, discontent. So you don't have to look over there and judge him, and you don't have to get all shook up because somebody said something yesterday and you're still thinking of it today. The disease of alcoholism. Talk about it, recognize it, be aware of it, speak about it. That's what this is about. This is a two-way street. Man, I'll tell you, this isn't something you learn, and then after you learn it, you don't have to do it. This is something that you have to learn how to do it, and do it. I have to do it like you have to do it, because I have to have my disease treated today the same as you. So what I say to you, I say to me, it's like it's a two-way street. It fits me like it fits you. But see, alkies don't think that. Alkies don't think that. The reason they don't think that way, because they go to the wrong power. They go to the power of self. Power of self says, that's baloney. That doesn't work. That don't need that. That's you. You need it, not me. That's right. Or you'll excuse your behavior by saying, I didn't do that. I didn't mean that. It just turned out that way. See? Yeah, I mean it. See, you get off the hook that way. Right. I can sleep better tonight because I just got off the hook. See?
There. I didn't mean to kill you.
That's the way the pickle squirts. That's right. Listen, there's a, honest to God, you guys, I don't know how much of this you think is important, but believe me, I can tell you this. This is deadly stuff. This is the port of last call. This is the stuff that kills people. This is the graveyard full of people that are not drunk. The ones I told you about that killed themselves that I had in my life working with them, the ones that were drunk, I could understand that. I could think about it anyway. Because, you know, when I get so blind, I'd kill you even, see? If you were around me, when I was drunk, I was a vicious, mean person, see? And I was capable of even killing me, but not sober. No way sober. I ain't gonna hurt me, no way, man. But yet, though, these very same people that I've talked about did it while they were sober. They took their own lives sober. Because of the mind, because of the disease got so terrible. And so, why should you, tell me the truth, why should any one of you, meaning all of us, as alcoholics with alcoholism, why should we accept, or why shouldn't we be happy, joyous, and free? Why can't we come to a place like this here and enjoy a weekend that money can't buy? You and I, as Alkies, all of us, we couldn't go to France, I bet you, and pool our money and have what we have here, there. You know that you couldn't. And yet all you do is drive down here, and it belongs to somebody else, and they allow you to have part of their life and be a part of their life with nothing in return. Nothing. To spend hours. Man, do you know how many hours that my sponsor probably spent on me, pounding on me and telling me this and telling me that? And I never once ever thought that that was anything. You know, I didn't think anything of that. In fact, I wanted him to do some more. See? Yeah. I never gave that a thought. That man would be so kind to me. You know what he did for me? And let me tell you what he did to me. My wife, when I got sober, I was sober 3.5 months. And I was in Cleveland, Ohio. And I got a wife that's sick. She's an asthmatic. She's been in and out of them oxygen tents and them hospitals. Every time I'd get drunk and go on a big drunk, I'd come off the drunk. She'd be in the goddamn oxygen tent in the hospital somewhere, been there maybe 2-3 days, and I'd been out drunk somewhere. She got sick, I got sober, she got sick again. The doctor says, what are you going to do? You going to let her die here? Why don't you listen to me and get her the hell out of this place and take her out to California somewhere, give her a chance. I went that afternoon, Steve come over to my house, my sponsor come to my house. There was a bar down the street that I used to give him every paycheck I ever gave him. It was called Jim's Rendezvous. And he was an Italian, Jim Cabot name was. So I said to my sponsor, Steve, I said, Steve, you know what I'm going to do? You think it'd be all right if I go down, I'm going to ask Jim down there to lend me some money to go to California. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, you ain't going to do that at all. He said, you just sit your ass right here and you stay here. He was gone about an hour. He came back. He gave me 5 $100 bills. And that was, now listen, that was in March of 1953. $500 he gave me. $500 in March 1953 was a lot of money. He said, get going. The next morning, I had a trailer behind my car. I had coffee with him across the street. And that's when he asked me about this guy business, how I was doing. And I said, not a damn thing. And he told me about, he said, I don't keep you sober. He says, I don't sleep with you 24 hours a day. He said, your past track record says that you can't even keep sober 1 day out of 2 years. He said, how the hell you got 3.5 months and not drunk? And I left him and I come out to California here, March 1953, on $500 that he gave me to come out here. And how you like them apples? Isn't that something? That man thought that much of me to give me that money and say, get going. He said, if you ever get it back, pay me back. If you don't, forget about it. How you like that? That was something. Somebody like that. Now, if that isn't God's will, if that isn't God's doing, I don't know what is. I didn't luck out or anything else like that. But this is the purpose. This is what Alcoholics Anonymous is all about. It's the same thing with being here in New Mexico here and being able to be around and be with and have all of the fellowship that we have and to have the good thoughts and have a mind that says, Anderson, you better thank your Lord. This is what it's all about right now. And listen, I haven't talked about a character change as far as what's needed in steps or anything like that. I'm talking now about what the hell we're all doing here and what's wrong with us and how it's a disease and it's an ism. It's a living thing. It's going on right this very minute. But so long as the power that I need to treat that is there, it's not there for a way of life. I'm a very blessed man. You guys want to talk about this or you want to talk about something else, it's okay. We can do it. You want to know more about it? You want to talk about it? You want to see where you're at? You want to know where you're at? You want to tell where you're at? Listen, man, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you, there's a guy over here, this guy right here, he had to learn how to swallow a lot of truths about himself. And he's got some more he's going to have to learn how to But I'll tell you, though, I'll tell you, but I'll tell you, he really did. I'll give him credit for that. man, I really mean it. Because I really pinned him to the ground, boy. I mean it about a lot of things, and he swallowed it. He might not have liked it, but he swallowed it.
Can you do SOT for us?
Yeah, you know what?
We got about 50 minutes left on the video. I can do SOT. I've been after him to do
what?
SOT.
Well, you know, what we're gonna, you know, this year,
Can we take a break?
Short cigarette break.
Would you take a smoke? Take a short break?
yeah, right, yeah.
Well, I got
Yeah,
the
because
nicotine patch on, I'm all right.
I got some coffee here, but it got cold.
There was yours down there, Bobby, I got you.
You got some hot coffee down there.
Yeah, I'll get you down, roll 'em, action.
So it's continuation, all right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about step 11, right? Okay. Sought through prayer and meditation improve my conscious contact with God as I understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. This step 11, sought through prayer and meditation, is that in the beginning I had to learn how to pray in Alcoholics Anonymous. Purpose of prayer. I had to learn that prayer is a communion, or it's a petition, or it's an acknowledgement to a power greater than me or higher power of God, of something that I need, or something I think that should be there, or something like that. But here's the thing about that is that I didn't know that the prayer, there's two parts to prayer. I had to learn that first. I had to learn that way down in early. That would have been in step 3. And so this knowledge now of prayer is something I have to talk about. Because I found out that the word prayer is like all other words that I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous. I know the word, but I don't know the function of the word, or the application of it, or the purpose of it, or what it is about the word that I need to know. I assume, or I take it in my brains, that when the education, when it says words, that words mean exactly that. They're words, see, but they sometimes mean other things too. Sometimes they have different intent than I think of in that. So I was taught first now about prayer is that this is a petition. It's a relationship with a power greater than me, and there's two parts to prayer though, and this is what I need to know. And the reason for this is that I was getting so used to, or thinking thoughts, that all I had to do is talk to God and then walk my life as I wanted to walk it. And I didn't know and didn't understand that the second part of prayer was the fact that if I will live according to that prayer in the day I'm in, that prayer will be answered. Now this means now that the prayer now first would be, I'm talking to something that's not me. And I learned that down in 2, that it was a power greater than me, so it couldn't be me. And I had to learn that when I talk to God, this power, when I talk to God, it's a relationship now that's away from self. I'm going to something other than self. And so this is where I had to come to believe in a power greater than self, so that I could actually do the things that are necessary so that this would remain the power, or be the power that I'm going to have in my life. Because, you know, it's so easy for me to pray to a name or to a ritual. It's so easy. Now, I've done this for a long time, too. I start my day out in the morning on my knees, and I end that day on my knees again. And then during that day, I might occasionally talk to, or recognize, or acknowledge God, or the need of God, or something might bring it to me, like maybe a song or something like that. I'll be riding along, and all of a sudden, man, it's been hours since I even considered God, let alone think about Him or talk to Him or anything else like that. And so then I found out that if I ask God to be in my life, He will be in my life only if I allow Him to be in there by performing. Now that meant the second part of prayer. The first thing I asked for was, I asked this power that to help me with my anger and hostility. That was the two things that it was really, after some time of being sober, that was very evident everywhere I went, but especially at work. And so here I am, I'm talking to a God. I'm asking specifically for two things. And so then when I went to work, I would start calling upon this God to help me not be mad, not be angry, not to look at somebody with judgment, criticism, and so on. So I didn't know I was building a relationship in a performance I was doing, so that prayer I asked for that morning was a living life that I was doing. Now, I had no idea about this. I had no relation about this. Now, if I'm in 11, and if I'm sought is an ongoing process. It's something that's a continuous thing. But I learned about this now, too, that Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step recovery program, it says this in the 12 by 12, that it is a continuous way of life. This isn't something that you do now and then. And in the steps, they're talking in different terms, like on page 64. On page 64, having been granted a perfect release from our alcoholism, why then couldn't we by the same means be granted a perfect release from any other difficulty or defect we have? That's the riddle of our existence. Perhaps the full answer lies only in the mind of God. So now, see, I'm starting to get a better look at or a bigger consideration of prayer, and also of performance, and also about the power of God, see? And so that when I'm in 11 now, if it's a continuous thing, and if sought means seeking, and if seeking means looking and trying, and that means anything I read, anything I listen to, anything that I'm doing in relationship to a power greater than me, then this must mean now that it's something that has to be regulated, or has to be decided of what it is now. It says sought through prayer and meditation to improve. Improve means, like for me, improve is to get better, or to add more quality to it, or even more quantity, even as far as that goes. And so the wording of the steps I learned a long time ago now, besides this, is that as each step appears, step 1, and then going on the rest of the way, that they're in a logical order form, so that when I do them, when I apply them, when I perform with the steps, when I use this step as a way of life, then this here now is a method now. It's an actual method of living that will treat my alcoholism because of the order form it's in, and also because of the power that's behind that order form, so that it makes it possible. So now, if this here would mean now that in step 11, the words it said now, sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as I understood him. See? So now what does that mean? See? So conscious contact would mean that I must associate my life to God all the time the best that I can do. Now what that means, again, I have to find out, is that I must give this, and Ted and I talked about this, I remember it well too, is that I must do this 100% of what I got. 100% of what I got. Now 100% of what I got sometimes is pretty slim. It's only 20% of 100%. But I've got to give it 100% of 20%. I've got to give it everything I got the day I'm in. So this means now that the attitude that I have about this here, what I'm doing, has to be there for a purpose. And so if I'm seeking to improve my conscious contact with God, as I understand it, see, that means that I'm doing this for the reason I'm doing it for, is so that I can improve my life with God. Because I live my life, in my life, daily, as I live, not as I sleep. See? So it says conscious contact. So what the hell does conscious contact mean? Conscious contact with God. I had to find in the Sermon on the Mount, is where I had to find this out. And this comes from the affirmative prayer, or the scientific prayer, however you want to look at it, is that I'm calling upon a power greater than me. I'm talking to a power, we'll keep it in the form of power, a power greater than me, not a higher power, but just a power right now. Because I must understand, or I must be aware of what's needed for my life, because way back down in the agnostics down there, in chapter 4, on page 45, they're talking in there about what's really wrong. See, lack of power was my dilemma, our dilemma. See, but how was I to find that power? See, that's what this book is about, to enable us to find a power which will solve our problems. And it doesn't say higher power, it says power. And if that says power, then what the heck do they mean by power if they don't define it as a higher power, as God? Well, what it becomes now, it becomes something that's a working process. It's something, I personally know this because of the way I had to learn to pray to God and the way I had to find God and use God in my life, for my life, see? Because this is where the watch come into the picture. See, I was seeking and didn't know it. And I was looking for something and didn't know it in the manner that I was doing. Because I wanted to have something different. This is before I know God as a true God, as a living God, see? It's another man's power, it's another man's words, it's another man's God, even. And so here I am, I'm trying now to find a relationship so that I can improve my conscious contact with God, deliberately do this, knowing what I'm doing this all the time. And I did this now, but I worked in Van Nuys, in Lincoln Mercury dealer in Van Nuys. I would constantly, I'd look at my watch and I'd say, I'm sorry, God. It's been an hour, it's been a half an hour. I haven't talked to you, I haven't acknowledged you. I'm back. Please forgive me. Would you help me now? Would you be with me? I'm angry, I'm mad. I got a chip on my shoulder. I don't like that SB. I don't like this guy. I don't like that guy. I don't like what I'm thinking. Would you be with me? Would you help me? This here I had to do. I had to do this. Now the reason I have to do this is because of the fact of what's being supplied and what's needed for my life, because this is where my trouble lies. This is where I'm an alcoholic with alcoholism. I get in trouble. I get in trouble whenever I think. Whenever I do anything, I get in trouble. And if I'm talking to a power greater than me, if I'm calling upon that power, if I'm consciously means exactly that. I drive my car, and I'm discussing my life. I'm sharing my life. I'm telling God exactly what's going on in my brain, how I'm acting, how I'm feeling, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't make any difference. This here now is important to know because I get caught up in living. I get caught up in anger. I get caught up in thinking about you, whoever you are. And that is not improving my conscious contact with God when I'm thinking about how rotten you are. And so this now is step 11 now, see, is a bigger step that we can talk about here, I'll clue you. But it is something now that's needed so badly so that this day, as an alcoholic, I can perform this day under any adversity. I can still get a smile when I don't feel like smiling. I still can say a kind word when I'm not thinking about that. I still can see Jeff over here with the kind thoughts that he has, that he's sharing what he has. I can see it because I'm looking that way with the power that's needed to be able to have the things that are in my life today that God wants me to have. I want to be the man God wants me to be. How can I be the man that God wants me to be if he isn't there in my conscious contact, in my consciousness, if he's not there? How can I be who I should be? I can't. You see, I can't because self is so powerful, and self will talk to you, and self will still put you number one, just top of the heap. Make sure you're all there. Your conscious contact is with self, not with a power greater than you. Now, step 11 is where the power lies, so that when you get to 12, so that you have had a spiritual awakening. How could you or I have spiritual awakening without step 11? Where would you get it? Would you get it in 10? Or would you get it when you make an amends? Would you get it when you make a list? Would you get it because you went and did the right thing in step 7 of maybe giving a few bucks or sharing your whatever you're doing or helping somebody or something like that? Would you get a spiritual awakening out of that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I think spiritual awakening is exactly what it says it is. It's an awakening to the fact that the spiritual life is needed, is being supplied by the grace of God only, not by your grace. So thought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God means exactly that. This day to day, I need to have more than just a prayer. I need to have more than just a thank. I learned a great deal now about what I'm talking about so that when I have troubles, and I've had many, many problems, and I had many things go the opposite direction, which I thought was the hard side of life, and it's not the hard side of life, it's only because I thought that. And to have the grace of God, when you lost everything you've ever worked for, every possession that you've ever had, when you have been put to the test in court, accusing you of things that you didn't do, things that you know inside of yourself that you couldn't do even, and then to have the grace of God on you to say, listen, stay with me, I'll take care of you, no harm will come to you. And then to have, turn right around and have more given to you after that has happened, and then you're better off now than you were before that happened even, only by the grace of God. I've had this happen more than once. This is what you asked me one day. 19, you said, how could you go to hell like that and you come back in such a couple of years, short couple of years? I know how. Because you see, I had a life that I was performing in each and every day. No matter where I had to go, what I had to do, I still went there and I had to do it, and I'd done these things, but I did them only because of the fact that I could do them, so that I wasn't doing them under protest, so that I was following the grace of God, that I was including God in my life. And the day I was in, He was with me in the truck. He was with me wherever I went. He was helping me think right that day. He was helping me do the things that day so that my life would improve, because that was His will for me, and I was carrying it out. See, now this is serious what I'm talking about. This is something that nobody talks about. I don't hear no alcoholic talk this way. And I sure in hell didn't learn it in church. But I did learn it through living a life that I needed in my life so that I could have what God wanted me to have. This is serious stuff now. This is life and death proposition now. This is about something now. Where could I possibly, how could I possibly have this if it didn't come from the grace of God? Do you think another human being gave it to me? Impossible. Self is so damn strong that in step 11, when they're talking in there about prayers, St. Francis of Assisi talks in there about self-forgetting. And I don't even know how to do that. And I don't even know what self-forgetting means even. But yet I got to do it. And so step 11, to have the world presented to you, no matter what's happening. I told you, I see my wife laying in a casket dead. I'm the one that should be laying there dead, because the fact of who I am, the way I live, and the way I treat people, and still the way I think of people today. She never thought like that. She never acted like that. But yet she's laying there dead, and I'm not. How come? What kind of God is this? What kind of life is this? You were in the room there when the doctor says that I'm going to die. You were there with Walter. He walked in and says, you ain't going to make it. You better say goodbye to your kids. You make peace and you say goodbye to your kids. You're not going to live. You're going to die. That was 3 years ago, March 13th. That's the truth. How come? This is something, see, that I don't forget. This is something that I know. I know each and every day. Through Jesus Christ, I have another day, only because of the fact that I'm still seeking and I'm still wanting to improve my conscious contact with God, praying only for the knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. Them are heavy words. That's real serious stuff. And I'm no Jesus freak in the fact that this is something that I'm talking about now. I'm going to go live rotten tomorrow or next day or talk against you or something like that. I don't do that. I don't think that you're a son of a bitch or anything else like that. I don't live like that. I used to. But the whole step now, this step here, this step enlarges, it grows, it gets bigger, it goes farther, it includes more people. But they all do this. All the steps do this. This is why it treats alcoholism for many years. It don't treat alcoholism because alcoholism remains the same as days and days and days, and then you're the same today, now you'll treat it the same today. It doesn't do that. This is an ongoing thing. That's what it says, step 11. To improve my conscious contact with God, praying only for the knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. Man, that's good news. That's something I never once ever considered. Get on my knees and thank Him for the day I'm in. Thank him for whatever, get up and go to bed then? No way, I don't do that. I do part of that, but I don't do that. I thank him now. I ask God right now to be with us all. Every meeting I go to. We're all considered to be under his grace. But you see, that's me. I'm still seeking. I'm still wanting God in my life, for my life. This is conscious contact. This isn't going to church in the morning and then act the way you want to act the rest of the day, be as mean or be as rotten, think about anybody the way you want to think about them. Baloney. I have to watch myself. Jimmy knows that. I get screwy ideas about people, especially old people, and hell, I don't think I'm old. That's a fact. Like, that's the truth. Man, I'll tell you, ask Jimmy. I see them old fuckers getting out of their cars. It takes them 5 minutes to get out of their car. I think, man, oh man, I wouldn't want to be in front of him. He's gonna hit the brake belt. That would kill me, you know. This is true. This is true. The important part about step 11 is the fact that I never understood really what prayer means. Prayer I thought was just a petition or a request to God. See, I didn't know that prayer requires a performance out of you and me as alcoholics with alcoholism, that there's something now demanded out of you so that you can ask God to do something you can't do or have something that according to his will, so that you can rise out of your own BB brain and you can have something now presented to you that you can't even think about. You can't even dream it could be like this, and it is. It'll happen. It's amazing, you know. But see, that's what the wording says, though. The wording of step 11 says that. That you're seeking all the time. You're always on the go. You're always looking for a closer relationship. The identity with it now is not in a ritual form or time form of morning, noon, night, whatever, however you do it, doesn't make any difference. I can talk to God right this very minute. I can pray to God this very minute. I can associate my life to God this very minute just by calling on him, by asking him, by wanting his will. I want to help my fellow alcoholic. Lord, would you please show me how to do it? It's a constant thing. It goes all the time. I don't stop. I never stop. But you see, if I don't do it this way, what would I do other than that now? What could I possibly do? Figure it out yourself. What would I say to who and where and when? See? Would I say it to me? Anderson, why don't you help your fellow alcoholic? How the hell do you do that? I wouldn't know how to do that. I wouldn't know what words or what person or what place or what thing is needed. But all I have to do is sought through prayer and meditation and improvement conscious contact with God, praying only for the knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out. That means now that that's a conscious contact. So how long am I consciously awake today? So if I'm seeking this, what does that mean? That I can only do it in the morning on the bed, by the bed, on my knees, and then I can walk the rest of the day by myself? Does it mean that? No, it don't mean that at all. Does it mean that you can wind the day up and consider that good enough? I've done all these things. I ain't talking about you, man. I'm talking about me. Does it mean that if I get mad and I screw up somewhere, want to run you off the road, call your names, that I have to suffer now the rest of the day so that I can't have a conscious contact with God? So the seeking now is ended? Doesn't mean that at all. It means I fall down, I fall short of the mark. I have shortcomings or defects. It means that I can get away from that and I can go back and be in a relationship with God again. Still seeking his will for me and the power to carry that out. See? When these guys talk, which Andrew almost said, is how do I know the difference between my will and God's will? Did you ever think about that? I've heard this a million times. I might have said it a million times myself even. I'm good at it, long back when. What the heck does that mean? How do I know God's will? So the idea behind this is that I had to learn a long time ago what I told you about is who I am and who God is. And And then step 2 is where I found that's out, because we talked in here about a power. We talked about this power that was greater than me. And so it must be now, we must identify something, meaning me and God, of who I am and who God is. Because I can't restore me to sanity of mind. I can't have soundness of mind through my power. That's for sure. And if we're talking about power to live, power to think, and power to do things with, then this must also mean that about the brain. Because if I'm going to go to my brain for any answers, any action, or any kind of direction, then it can't be a power greater than me. It must be me. And so there is such a thing, see, as not being able to identify self, because self has got an ego factor again. And self says you're okay. You just missed it a little part, just a little bit. Like Maxwell Smart, missed it by that much.
Boss, I missed it by that much.
That much, yeah. So, good in Father, what Frank wants to know is about the word sought. So sought is something now, is that if I like today, this day today, if I got up this morning and I use God in my life, for my life, by associating my life to God for my life. In other words, I include God in my thoughts and my conversation. Now this sounds, I don't know if it sounds silly to you or something, or hard to do or something like that. Maybe that's what you mean when you say that's a lot of work, you know. But it's not a lot of work, because I'm so used to going to self that I'm tuned into self, and I'm automatically with self. And so I can drive many miles, and I'm not thinking about God, and I'm not searching for God, and I'm not seeking God or anything else like that. But that's only because of who I am. See? And it's like when I was learning how to read the steps. And I can read in this book here, any one of these books or pages or anything else like that. And I can read a page, I don't know if you do this, and I can read this page, and after I'm through reading it, if I close the cover on that, I couldn't tell you one damn word on that page that has any meaning behind it or what I read even. Do you ever do that? Mm-hmm. Well, this is an ongoing thing too, is because I got a brain that's got the capacity to go many places for a lot of reasons, and and still do other things, you know. And so if I ask, I learned to do this a long time in the Sermon on the Mount, is that if I read something and I'm aware that it's all jumbled words or it's things I don't know, all I have to do is start all over again. This time I ask God to help me understand, or help me be or think and do what I should do here, please. And all I have to do now is be sincere, be honest, self-honesty with self now about this. And I'll tell you, I'll read that page, and I'll tell you all about that page. And I'll tell you what I read, too. And I found out that the steps are like that. Because they're not a reading process, they're not something you get past, they're not something that now you're okay, you put that away when you're forever, or anything like that. It's not nothing like that. This here is the part of living a life that I have to have so that I can perform with this life. Now, by self, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. Now, you stop and think about this, what I'm saying, is how many meetings have you been to, and how many times have you heard chapter 5, and how many times have you heard 12 steps read from the podium? How many of you guys can repeat every one of them steps right to the letter of the law? How many? Okay, that's one thing. How many can do that now? This is self-honesty to self. How many can do that? How many can perform like that, according to the 12 steps? Until it becomes something that's needed for your life, until your life becomes important to you, until you call upon the power that can make that happen, until you use the steps as a method of living, you can't do it. Because just to hear them is one thing. To discuss them is another thing. But to perform and live with them is another thing again. This is what it's talked about in the first 164 pages, and it ends that way on page 164. See that your relationship with God is right in all things. This is what they're talking about. You obviously can't transmit something you don't have. They're talking in here, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Abandon yourself to Him. See? Now, why would they make that so important now? And why would they say this in 11, step 11? Because what in the position it's in the 11th position, and 12 is not, 12 is separate by itself now, 12. The 11 steps is the method of living, so that you can have a spiritual awakening to be able to give this to somebody else and to practice these principles in all your affairs. So what does that mean? That means something. It certainly must mean something. As a way of life, sought through prayer and meditation. Why would they put 11 there? Why would they say that in step 11? Sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God. In other words, what else is there that I should know that would be far, that I would benefit from, that might be, might even be more important than 11 even. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious. So that must mean it's an ongoing thing today, this day. This is not a wasn't. So then, if I've been going at sobriety in time, you'd think that in time there might be a graduation, or there might be something there that says that from now on you got it easy, you've got a piece of cake now. But it's not. See, so if treating alcoholism as a way of life is needed daily, as a daily reprieve, like it says on page 85, then how about step 11, and putting step 11 in for treatment of this here condition or this disease? If I'm going to seek God's help, God's direction, His will for me, and the power to carry that out, what does that mean then? When do you do that? You do that in the morning? You do it at night? When do you do this? The way it's worded ought to be able to say that pretty clear. Your conscious contact. Now, if your conscious contact is with self, it sure in hell ain't with God. And if you're going to look to self, what kind of an answer you're going to get, or what direction you're going to get. So this is where, I remember I told you how I used to have to drive my car, buy the watch I learned first, and then I had to drive my car. I had to take him out, put him in the car, make sure he's in the car, and now I get in the car. I want God with me. I want God right here, right now. I want Him with me because my thoughts, my ideas needs treatment. I have to have the grace of God on me. See, this is that undeserved gift from God too, by the way. This is something that I can have regardless of what I've done or what I've been or where I've been at or anything else like that. This is that 100% of whatever I got. 100% of whatever I have. This is the main ingredient, what we're talking about. Ted, that's what you don't understand yet, is that, yeah, I mean this, it's serious, about this, is that the purpose of this here, what step 11 is all about, is I found out that there is a power greater than me, and I also found out who this power is. Now, this started down the bottom in the beginning for a long time. But I didn't know how to use that power, because I thought that power was needed only where I thought it was needed, or when I thought it was needed. I thought that, like step 7, it says, push your pinch hitter. And I didn't know that as an alcoholic, see, that I have to practice these principles in all of my affairs. It means that I can't practice these principles in my affair by my power. I can't do this. It's impossible. But see, I had to find out exactly the need of a power greater than me and how to use that power. Now that means then that if I'm going to choose where that power is needed or when it's needed, in whatever capacity or whatever, then it's not really, that isn't who God really is. That's who I think I want to be with God, or I think that that's the way you use God or treat God. Because that's not His will for me, that's my will for me. See, I'm still in the picture, I'm still sitting on the throne, I'm trying to be a partner there, I'm trying to be in the act, I'm still trying to be who I think I should be. This is where I had to learn now a great deal about who the hell I am. See, just because if God is, then He must be all. If God does for you, He must do for me too. And so this here now starts to take on a different meaning altogether now. The purpose I'm here for is to do God's will. Now I found out exactly what that means. Not my will, to do God's will. And when they start this here business now, in 3, when I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood it. See, now here we coming all the way up in 11. What the hell does it say in 11? See, it says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God, praying for the knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. So that's what is going to separate now. This is going to separate the idea behind God as only a God of need or a God of ritual, a God of name. This is going to change now into a living God. A living God means exactly that, what it says. It's an ongoing conscious contact today for what's needed today in my life only. And this means now that I must have God first. So I must put God first. First means only the fact that God, I talk to God as who God is. Now, remember on page 63, when we were learning, when we were being aware of the unmanageable life. And when it talks in there, at the top of page 63 in the big book. See, I didn't understand this here, what it says there. It says, says, when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer, being all-powerful. He provided what we needed if we kept close to Him. Why would they say that, if we kept close to Him? And performed His work well. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life as we felt new power flow in. As we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of His presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and hereafter. We were reborn. Why would they word that like that? See? Because of the fact that the relationship that's needed. The relationship, meaning my life dedicated or disciplined or in God's hands, must be there in no place else. I can't keep flip-flopping. I can't keep taking it and giving it back. I can't take it and give it back. If I'm seeking to improve my conscious contact with God, so that I myself will find myself getting angry, getting anxious, getting impatient with the way you're behaving, the way you're putting that ice away, or the way you're not buying it fast enough, or something like that. Don't you know that I have things inside of me? I got an alarm clock in me. I got bells inside of me. I got sirens going off inside of me that says, Anderson, back down. Anderson, you're doing it again. Anderson, what the hell's the matter with you? You're so damn important to you that you can't see what's going on even. And listen, man, I'll tell you, I've been sober a lot of years. That don't help me one damn bit. That disease of alcoholism, if it's not being treated. Now, being treated means a way of life. Being treated means that there's a process, a method that will correct that situation when it happens, and if it does happen that way. Because I don't walk on water, you know that. And I get sick too, and I get impatient sometimes, and I get maybe hungry, or I get tired, or something else like that. But the formula, or the method, or what's needed is always in the 12 steps. That's the only damn thing I got. That's the only thing I have. If I don't have 12 steps, I haven't got a message. There is no message. Then I have to go out in the world, and I have to be alone again, trying to figure out how in the hell to stop that crazy brain, or how to make things right, or how to repair damage that I've just done or going to do. Man, I'm in self again. And this all is about steps now, and this is all about 11. This is all about recognizing exactly what you can do as an alcoholic with alcoholism, with the power that's greater than you. And this isn't about a performance that's needed right now. It doesn't come from yesterday or yesteryears. It doesn't come from anything at all to do with anything other than now. Isn't that funny? It is. To me, it's not funny, it's funny peculiar. You know, this is serious business. Step 11, you know, I talked one time to Ron about 11. Man, I don't know how long we talked. You know, I have no idea, you know. But it's the same as all stuff. It's a never-ending story because it's an ongoing living process that must continue on as alcoholism is there. It must be there. So then for it to be there means exactly that. That if I'm not doing that, what am I doing? If I'm not seeking to do God's will, and have the power, the conscious contact of the living moment, or of the time that I'm thinking, acting, being, what the hell else would I do? Go out there and maybe run around the boat and feel real good, and then come up here and just get down into some deep, deep trouble and think rotten thoughts and figure how rotten the world's treating me and all that. No way. No way. This, every time I talk like this, it makes me think inside that I want to tell you about the other side. I want to tell you about the good things. I want to tell you how well it is to feel well.
Yeah.
How well it is to have adversity hit you, or to have things turn right around in front of you, and get so damn good that there is no way it could get any better, and yet God will turn around and do the next thing better than that. And so, Alcoholics Anonymous, I get very damn serious about the message. I really do, and I always have. And I generally don't kid or joke or anything else. The only reason why is because it is a life and death proposition. This is a port of last call. This is prime time. This is for me. This ain't for you. If you say it's for you, yes. But I'm not thinking for you, and I'm not here for you, because this is a way of life that I must have. This is a way of life that God says, here, I'm going to take care of you. No harm will come to you. Stay with me. I'll make sure you're all right. Don't worry. Man, I've seen some troubles that man, there ain't nobody seen these troubles before. I know they haven't. If they did, they get on this earth. And yet, though, I can go through that and God say, you're all right. This is serious. You sure in hell, I'm going to tell you, you sure in hell ain't going to give it to you. Nothing's going to come to you on a silver platter. It's not going to come to you on a silver platter. It ain't going to be just handed to you. You're going to have to go for it. You're going to have to try the very best you can try. You're going to have to give it 100% of whatever the hell you got to. And if you don't do it, it'll never happen. And if you're satisfied with what you got today, that's fine. My hat's off to you. It's like Dr. Bob talking about in there. You think you can handle this all alone? He says, my hats are off to you. Your Heavenly Father will never let you down. I'd like to take, I wish to hell there was something you could give to somebody in a form of use, so that after you get the things that are necessary, you can give it back. I can give you 10 years, and then after you get a couple of years and you got good years, well, then give them back, I'll give them to him, and so on like that, Sounds good, But if you don't do it, it'll never happen. If you don't go to the source of supply, if you don't go to God, seek Him, want and have and try and do with His power, what the hell would you do? What would you do? You're going to go look in the mirror and tell yourself, you're going to congratulate yourself how well you behaved today and how well you thought today? No way. Self will never do that.